Hi there. We will be discussing an article that is titled Why Open Drug Discovery Needs 4 Simple Rules for Licensing Data and Models. This presentation is for the course Health Information Management 5370, which is at the facility of Texas State University. I am the presenter today, and my name is Aurora Villarreal. Hope you enjoy. Introduction. Well, technology is partaking in our everyday lives. From the brick-style cell phone to the flip phone, and now our touchscreens, wireless cell phones. As a result of technological advances, scientific databases have been impacted. And with databases comes integration of data and in hand, the licensing of that set data. So, the licensing of data may have discrepancies with progress and usability, depending on who does the licensing. That is why this article has formulated 4 rules for licensing data. That way, there aren't any of these discrepancies. Let's move on to the rules. Rule number 1. Before you begin a database project, convey a meeting of all the stakeholders. Expose all of the expectations of the group and decide if your goals are primary, scientific, commercial, or mixed. If mixed, take a stern look of the actual commercial potential of the project and invite technology transfers offices to join you. They have greater experience in the realities of the commercialization. Meaning, what is your goal? Scientific, commercial, or mixed? Gather those experts and see what they have to contribute. Moving on to Rule 2. If your project is scientific in nature and not commercial, explore the benefits of open licensing and drawbacks of enclosure. Go through the various definitions and find the most common ground possible, always placing the burden of proof on those who want more control and not less. This will create less default enclosure, but allow for those increasingly rare situations in which open is not appropriate. Attempt to hew as closely as possible to the admittedly rigorous open definition and standards, and do not write your own intellectual property licenses. Instead, use existing and well-developed ones. Meaning, after completing Rule 1, weigh your pros and cons on the parties involved that are impacted. Make sure that you gather the correct data from everybody. View previous licensures and go from there. Moving on to Rule 3. Develop simple explanations of your terms of use and make them easy to find for others. I don't want to read all of Rule 3, but basically, Rule 3 is stating, be simple, be direct, and do not overwhelm with legal jargon or words. I know that I am guilty of scrolling all the way down without even reading terms and conditions. I just want to check agree, that way I can move on. Therefore, make it readable, make it approachable. The final rule, Rule 4. Don't ever lock up metadata. A significant swath of data will be incompatible with an open regimen, whether it is to protect trade secrets or patient privacy. Basically, Rule 4 means make the metadata a public domain. It is a crucial part and element to data licensing. The conclusion of the article. Well, these scientists who wrote the article concluded that scientists need to consider data licensing before using databases. It is important to get this message across because legal battles can be the result of not using data licensing appropriately or correctly. The article compares data licensing to scientific processes because it is vital for its future usability before reusing such content in databases that these scientists have or will construct themselves for future or during their research. Now we are going over slide named questions. These 4 questions are asking different points of whether it's associated to our lesson. Is this article outdated? How can it be applied on the job situations? And what is the takeaway message of this article? Well, let's start with the first question. What important facts support the takeaway message? Well, the 4 rules are the takeaway message because they outline how to be compliant. Question 2. Do I think this article is outdated? No. I believe this article is useful because, like we discussed in the beginning of this presentation, technology advancements are occurring, and this is one of them. Therefore, this article is not outdated because we need it in order to be compliant for our takeaway message. Third question, how does this article tie into the content for this lesson? Well, it ties to our lesson because data is one of the essential components of health information management. And at the facility of the data, it may use data integration. And that data integration needs to be budgeted in a financial manner because financing is an element to health information management. And the last question, how can I apply what I have learned to this article to on-the-job situations? Well, we've discussed that a little bit with the previous 3 questions. However, as a health information management professional, it is my duty, my obligation to make sure that my facility that I am managing is compliant because we need to be compliant with the facility, with the government, in order to give the most possible and best health care to our patients and our clients because that is what they deserve the moment they walk through the door. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Let's move on. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Here's the reference to the article.